SicEm365 on YouTube.
All right, we have heard from a lot of you, whether it's calls, texts, chat, whatever, email, Twitter, on many of the other schools. And hey, what about this, or what about them, or what about us? And, we checked in yesterday with West Virginia and UCF, and today we check in with Jake Hatch. He covers everything Utah, but also does a great job. When the Baylor-Brigham Young game was announced, Jake was one of ours, along with the fact Jeff Grimes and Eric Mateo's hirings as well. Jake, thanks for your time. There's so much that is said, maybe perception or otherwise, with Brigham Young. Right now, what do they want, what do they expect, and what do they think is going to happen with the landscape change in college football and how it affects the Cougars?
Well, first thing, thanks for having me on. But I think the biggest thing for BYU right now is they want to be a Power 5 program. They have made no bones about that in my conversations with people down there in Provo. They would love to be a Power 5 program, and they've been working for that. The opportunity has not presented itself to this point, and maybe finally in this new round of realignment, maybe this will finally be the chance for the Cougars.
Do there things like not playing on Sundays or anything like that present any roadblocks for people, or is that conjecture?
The Sunday play issue, I think, is going to be an issue because BYU will not bend on that. They will not play on Sundays. That's something they've made very clear over the years. There are rules in place for the NCAA tournament and men's basketball and women's basketball, for example, that will exempt BYU from having to play on a Sunday. It forces the selection committee, should the Cougars be in either of those tournaments, they have to play that Thursday, Saturday format. And it would also necessitate, a movement of the Final Four if there were to be played on Sunday. So it's something that BYU will not bend on. And I do think it would be an issue for certain conferences because you have to work around the Cougars in that instance.
Obviously the Big 12 has looked at expanding before, and BYU is one of those schools that was mentioned along the likes of Cincinnati and Houston and others just a couple of years ago. What's your impression of where talks kind of have been with BYU and other Power Fives, in particular the Big 12, and what kind of the message has been in relation to why they haven't yet been able to receive one of those types of invites?
I think, honestly, the biggest thing is BYU just has not found an opportunity to find the right fit for them. Because, like I mentioned, the Sunday play issue is always going to be a thing that BYU will have to deal with regards to a Power 5 conference. So whether that is the Big 12 or, let's say, the Pac-12, if they were to come calling, BYU would say, yes, we are interested in joining your conference, but here's what we will not bend on. And that Sunday play issue is really the overarching thing. And if a conference can get over the fact that they may have to rearrange schedules to play BYU on all Saturday games with regards to what we call Olympic sports, men's and women's basketball and the like, then I think it would work out. I honestly don't think BYU is going to really have an issue outside of that Sunday play issue. I know that sounds like a broken record, but really I think that's the one hard and fast thing that BYU will not bend on.
So what would they rather have? To me, obviously, the Big 12 right now is diminished with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, but there's an opening there, or whatever it might be. The Pac-12, they're trying to figure themselves out, the new commissioner, whatever. They would rather be in the Pac-12. Is that just like an obvious answer, or is there interest that if, in fact, the Big 12 reached out, they would say yes?
Okay, if they had their druthers, if they could pick where they would go, they probably would pick the Pac-12, considering its access to the West Coast. There's a large membership of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, their sponsoring institution. There are a lot of members on the West Coast. So, yes, if they had their choice, they'd probably prefer the Pac-12. But the Pac-12, based on everything that I understand, has made it very clear they will not admit a religious institution into that conference. We'll find out. There's been those rumors out there today with regards to the Big 12 and Pac-12. Well, I know that TCU and Baylor, as you guys cover, have religious affiliations. That may put that whole notion to the test. But if the Big 12 were to call BYU and say, hey, love to have you be a part of the Big 12, I think BYU would say, yes, we're interested. Let's do this.
Do you think that the Pac-12 is probably going to, in the face of all this, maybe amend some of its previous biases?
They may have to. I think it's all dependent upon what they think is in their best interest moving forward. The move by Texas and Oklahoma to go to the SEC is really, I think, put a warning shot across the bow of conferences like the Pac-12. They're probably looking at their options right now. And George Kliavkoff, he's a brand new commissioner, literally just took the job last month. He's got some huge decisions staring him in the face, and he'll have to go to those presidents, the chancellors of the Pac-12 schools and say, okay, here's where we stand, here's what we have to work with, and it may necessitate, yes, they may have to adjust some of their pre-existing notions.
Jake Hatch again, Locked On Cougars. He also covers quite a bit of whatever else is going on, including the Utah Jazz, who just drafted or traded for the drafted Jared Butler, the former Baylor star. Mm-hmm.
So we know what it was like around here in the state of Texas when the Texas and Oklahoma news dropped like a bomb from the sky. What was the reaction in Provo? Because obviously, you know, as we're talking to you right now, BYU could be impacted, and all of college football will be impacted by OU and UT's decision. To what extent, we don't know just yet, but how much of a shockwave did that send through to the BYU fan base?
I would say it was about a tidal wave, because there are a lot of BYU fans who are sitting here and have been hoping and praying that BYU would get that chance to go Power 5. They've been waiting over a decade as an independent program for that opportunity. They saw their arch rival, Utah, get an invite to the Pac-12 back in 2010. And BYU fans, anytime these rumors have kicked up with regards to any Power 5 conference doing a realignment, and in particular the Big 12, BYU fans take to it like catnip. They absolutely love this stuff.
Jake, all right, I just mentioned Jared Butler. Obviously, Utah has the Lindsays that help, Dennis that helps run the franchise, and now got Royce O'Neal. Now there's Jared Butler. It's kind of becoming Baylor Northwest, I guess, right?
Absolutely. Dennis Lindsay was the executive vice president of basketball operations until recently stepping down to take on an advisory role. But the connection between the Jazz and Baylor is extremely strong. Jazz fans absolutely love Royce O'Neal. The response to getting Jared Turner was overwhelming in the positive. They're really looking forward to seeing what Jared Turner does. It sounds like he'll be suiting up for the Jazz, hopefully in the Summer League down there in Las Vegas next week, but they got to wait for that trade to become official once the NBA moratorium ends.
Jake, thank you. Appreciate your time. Jake Hatch, Locked On Cougars, and we'll have you on. Hey, don't you I know you had to hang up. That's okay. Going up against the top of the hour, we'll hear from Jake the week of Baylor and Brigham Young in Waco when they play that in middle of the year, kind of a later non-conference game than we normally would see in the Big 12.
Yeah, and he sounds like he'll be a very valuable double dipper for us, because not only can we talk BYU and obviously they have a game against Baylor, but they might be Big 12 housemates in the foreseeable future. And of course, Maceo Teague also with the Jazz.
Yeah.
He got that Exhibit 10 contract or whatever it's called. So he'll have at least an opportunity. But yeah, definitely some Baylor flavor on that Jazz basketball team as well. So yeah, good guy to have on the line.
For those of you on the chat room, on the YouTube channel 365 Sports, thank you. Also,